Hello everyone and welcome to the Woodshop. My name is Kim Keogh and I am a professor here in the Cabinet Making Techniques program at Georgian College. I am joined today by some incredibly talented students who are excited to show off their very first project and show you exactly how we did it. The first thing we like to do here is take everyone back, way back, hundreds of years before electricity was even invented. And we used tools similar to what you would see back then. And then we were able to create the serving tray, which you guys see here. The first thing we need to do is gather our wood for the project.
You want us to cut down the trees?
Maybe not today. Today we're going to use some 8-quarter pine and we're cutting down for our parts. For this project, we need a base, 2 handles, and 2 sides.
Yes.
Now that we have some rough cut parts, we can begin planing the edges of the pieces we will use for gluing up our base. For this, we'll be using a block plane and gliding it along the edges to create a smooth, square surface. As you can see, Taylor here has a piece clamped in a bench vise and is working on her edges. If the block plane is set up properly, then it will create these fun little curls. Taylor, do you have any tips for this process?
Yes, I do. When we're planing, we need to go with the grain, otherwise the blade will get stuck and create an uneven surface. It can even blow out chunks of wood.
Whoa, Nicole, what are you up to over here?
Well, Kim, we need to make our rough pieces nice and smooth in order to make them into parts for our serving tray.
That's correct. Once we have our rough pieces, we can now take our jack plane out and get them nice and smooth and right down to thickness. Remember Taylor's trick from earlier? We have to go with the grain in order to avoid tear out. We can then use our dovetail saw to cut them to size.
That's right.
Once we have our parts jointed on each edge, we can glue up our base. We apply a liberal amount of carpenter's glue to each edge and then lay the pieces down in the clamps. We alternate our clamps, one on the bottom, one on the top, so that nothing can curve or curl. Kayla, do you have any tips for our friends?
Yes, alternate your smiles and frowns. As a tree grows, it creates an annual ring. When we cut through the tree, we can see these rings, and what happens is that the wood will always try to give itself a big hug and curl around the rings. In order to keep our base from cupping or curling, we make sure that we alternate the rings up and down.
But that's how I was set up to go.
So the tools that we're going to be using are a dovetail saw, a hammer, and a chisel. We use the dovetail saw to make our vertical cuts down the shoulders of the joint, making sure we leave our pencil line. If we cut off our pencil line, we have no idea where to stop.
So how do we cut this little line at the bottom?
Well, that's where our chisel comes in. Now, if we just go ahead and smack that chisel with a hammer, what do you think's going to happen?
Probably gonna have a blowout.
Well, let's show them a blowout then.
Okay. Yeah. Can you show our friends how to do it properly?
You bet I can. So what we need to do is take our chisel and put it right on that end line. We're going to do a nice little tap and then move it over just a little bit. If you have a bit of a wider chisel, that works too. Tap, tap, tap. Then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come around to the end. We're gonna tap nice and gently right on the end. What this does is it's gonna take a nice little piece right out, and we just keep going down until we get a nice clean joint. Now that we have completed our joints, it's time to cut the curve and drill for the handle.
Okay, I'm ready.
Well, Jesse, not quite. No electricity for this one, remember? Time to bust out the coping saw and the hand drill. You're 12 minutes from here. What's up?
How do I cut this out?
Well, you see, the coping saw comes apart, and we can run the coping saw right through the hole and cut those lines out. What are? Well, everyone, let's take a second and check in. We've glued up our base, planed and cut to size our pieces, cut our joints, and cut the curve and drilled for the handles. What could possibly be next? Let's check in with Taylor and see what she's up to. Hope you put some of this into your shavings account.
Hardy har, Kim. Actually, my glue is set up, so I'm just planing my base and cutting it to size.
Oh, perfect. When we glue up our pieces, we're left with uneven joints. So we have to bring out our trusted friend, the jack plane, to smooth it all out. We use nice fluid motions, and that way we can have more curls just like this.
Hey Kim, is it time to glue yet?
Well, Izzy, yes it is. Now that we have these nice clean joints, we can begin the glue up process. We're gonna put some carpenter's glue right in the joints, and then we're gonna lock it down in these clamps.
All right.
We spread the glue around so that it covers as much surface as we possibly can. Once we've got lots of glue, we can put the joints together and drop it into the clamp. We do that with each joint, and then when all four are ready, we can clamp them all together. So Izzy, we want to make sure we put nice even pressure on every joint.
Okay.
Then we take our other clamps, we flip them over and clamp our sides.
How do we know that it's square?
Good question. Once we get them clamped down, we can then take our measuring tape, measure from one corner to the other. What's our number there?
22.
We measure from one corner to the other, And what's our number?
22.
22. That means it's square. If the numbers are the same, your piece is square. If one of the numbers happens to be longer, like if this was 22 and this was 21 7/8, we would take another clamp, put a kitty corner, and squeeze it in to create a nice square tray. Congratulations, you now have a frame that's ready to be attached to the base. All we have to do is drill some holes in.
Someone say drill.
No drills. Since we are only using hand tools for this project, no electricity will be used. Instead, we'll be using the egg beaters to drill our holes into the bottom,
Drill.
and then use a screwdriver to attach the screws. That's good. Well, there you have it, friends. You've completed your first serving tray.
Kim, aren't we supposed to sand these projects first? You know, you just keep telling us to keep sanding and sanding and sanding. It takes forever.
You know what, Kitty? You're completely right. Sanding is a super important part of the process. You've got to make sure that the edges are nice and smooth so that your project looks fantastic.
Okay, I'll do it again.
You're looking great, guys. Hey, Taylor. Now that your project is assembled, it's time for the final step. This part is viewer's choice. There are so many finishes that you can choose from. You can oil it, you can wax it, or what we've done, we've brushed on a varnish, 2 coats, making sure we sand it in between each coat. It's important to keep your tools sharp and well maintained. Thank you for joining us today, and we hope you enjoyed following along and building this project with us.
If I can't use electricity, none of you can.